This is Matthew Kratter from Bitcoin University, and today I wanted to talk about the Swedish Rekt Bank. This is my cross-lingual pun for Sveriges Riksbank, which is, of course, the Swedish central bank. And as they say on their website, we are here to ensure that inflation is low and stable over time, and they also contribute to the stability and efficiency of the financial system. The Sveriges Riksbank has had a long and fabled history stealing the economic energy and savings of the people of Sweden for many hundreds of years. Now, banks reproduce, they propagate themselves through a process of asexual reproduction called bank failure. And this is no different for the Swedish central bank. There was a bank called Stockholms Banco, which issued the first real banknotes in Europe, supposedly. They were a great success, but then it all ended in bank failure. Why does it always happen to banks that they sort of follow this progression? But the Sveriges Riksbank came out of the ruins of Stockholms Banco. You can imagine it sort of emerging like the phoenix from the ashes, as these central bankers do. Unfortunately, just 20 years later, the bank was completely taken over by the king, by King Charles the 11th, who decided to have the last word on all matters. As the website says, absolute monarchy takes power over the bank. So that didn't last long. A few years later, there was a large war, and when people attempted to withdraw their money from the bank after the war, there was surprisingly no money to be had. The bank simply froze depositors' accounts. So you can see where this is going. By 1901, they had managed to get a monopoly on issuing banknotes. Under this fellow here, you can see them counting their loot at the table. By 1904, the commercial banks have had the right to issue banknotes up until that point. And now, starting in 1904, the Riksbank had the sole right to issue notes. You can see how the monopoly on money developed. Another milestone for the Swedish central bank was 1931, when they were the first central bank in the world with a price stability target, trying to make sure that domestic purchasing power and the purchasing power of the krona would be preserved. Unfortunately, you can see what happened with that. If we price gold in Swedish krona, we can see how badly it has preserved value. This only goes back to 1996, but you can imagine if we took this chart all the way back to 1931, their fiat currency has just massively lost its purchasing power. If you're enjoying this video so far, I just ask you to subscribe. That really helps the channel and its algorithm. Like this video, leave a comment, question, suggestion for a future topic, and share this video as well. 1968, the Riksbank celebrated its 300th jubilee by establishing this fake prize, the prize in economic sciences, in memory of Nobel. So a lot of people talk about the Nobel economic prize, but it's actually something that was just set up in 1968. One of its most prominent recipients, of course, is the man who's gotten everything wrong and yet somehow keeps falling higher and higher as he fails. Paul Krugman, wrong about Bitcoin for now, probably closer to 13 or 12 years. The Swedish central bank, along with a lot of the other European banks, really experimented with negative interest rates. This caused a lot of problems. When you put money in the bank, you don't expect to pay them for the privilege. Unfortunately, this had a lot of negative consequences, one of which was actually blowing up the central bank itself. The central bank is now insolvent and is seeking $7 billion worth of equity to bring it back up out of negative equity. How did they do this? I would suggest that this in itself deserves a Nobel Memorial Prize in economics, this investment strategy that the Riksbank pursued. You just buy a lot of bonds when interest rates are low to negative, then you yourself raise interest rates a lot, you blow up your own balance sheet, and then you ask taxpayers for bailouts. The strategy works roughly like this bicycle method. We can see where interest rates were negative a few years back. This was when the central bank was buying all these bonds, and as they raised rates, they blew themselves up. And as we said, they now need more than $7 billion to cover these losses. Fortunately, Sweden has one of the highest tax burdens of any country in the world, and this will fortunately make it possible to transfer the savings of the Swedish people directly from their pocketbooks to the bankers and the central bank itself. Now, the Swedish central bank is stupid and evil, but at least it can only cause damage to a small country. It's kind of like a small baby troll, sort of cute and smelly. Unfortunately, by contrast, the Fed is one of these giant slobbering trolls that exerts its noxious influence all over the world. And when this particular troll sneezes, entire countries catch cold. When it raises interest rates, it instantly blows up whole currencies. Here's a great picture of Fed Chairman Jerome Powell in the beautiful woods at Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And I don't know why he's talking to this small child, probably trying to get them to buy some of his bonds. What's pretty funny is that the Fed too has wounded itself in the process of raising interest rates. But that's a special fairy tale for another day. I'll just leave you with this chart of liabilities and capital over at the Fed going over a cliff. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that subscribe and like buttons. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when I publish my next video, and let me know your questions and comments in the comment section below. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.